Imagine a quiet English village, flowers in the garden, children in the street. Everything looks safe. Until one evening, a gunshot breaks the silence. A man is murdered in the vicar's house. Everyone is a suspect. And only one old lady with sharp eyes can find the truth. Welcome to The Murder at the Vicarage, a WooEnglish mystery audiobook. Listen carefully, enjoy the story, and learn English step by step. Chapter 1. The Quiet Village. Listen. The church bell rings, ding, dong, ding, dong. This is the village of St. Mary Mead. It is a small English village. It looks calm. It looks safe. But is it really safe? The sun shines on the gardens. Roses grow. Birds sing. Children play in the lanes. Old men talk in the pub. The postman rides his bicycle. Everything seems normal, but behind the doors, people keep secrets. At the center of the village stands the vicarage. The vicarage is the house of the vicar, the village priest. The vicar is Mr. Leonard Clement. He is about 40 years old. He is kind and gentle. He helps people with their problems. But sometimes he feels tired. Sometimes he feels that people expect too much from him. His wife, Griselda, is young. She is only 26. She is beautiful, with bright eyes and quick hands. Some villagers say she is too young for a vicar's wife. They whisper, "She is not serious enough. She is too modern." But the vicar loves her. She brings life into the quiet house. Not far away, in a little cottage with flowers in the window, lives Miss Marple. She is an old lady with white hair and sharp blue eyes. She likes to sit in her garden. She knits scarves and sweaters. She smiles kindly, but her eyes see everything, every lie, every secret, every shadow in the village. People think she is just an old woman with knitting. But Miss Marple knows more than anyone. She knows that evil can hide even in a quiet place. She knows that murder can happen anywhere. On this warm summer day, the villagers walk in the streets. They gossip. Gossip means talking about other people's lives. Mrs. Price says, "Did you hear about Colonel Prothero?" Mr. Hawes whispers, "He shouted at his daughter again." Others say, "He is cruel. He is rude. He is dangerous." Colonel Prothero lives in a big house near the church. He is a rich man. He is a powerful man. But he is not a kind man. Even the vicar does not like him. And when a vicar dislikes someone, that is serious. The evening comes. The sky turns red. The bell rings again. The village seems peaceful. But under the silence, something dark is waiting. Miss Marple puts down her knitting. She looks at the church tower. She whispers, almost to herself, "Soon there will be trouble." And she is right. Because very soon, a gunshot will break the peace of Saint. Mary Mead. Chapter 2. A Man Everyone Hated. The next morning, the village is busy. The postman brings letters. Children walk to school. Farmers lead their cows to the fields. Everything looks normal. But people keep talking about one man. That man is Colonel Prothero. Colonel is a military title. It means he was once a soldier, an officer in the army. But now he is retired. He lives in a big house with his family. And almost everybody in the village hates him. Why? Because Colonel Prothero is a hard man. He has a loud voice. He has a red face. And he likes to shout. At the market, he argues with farmers. "You sell bad vegetables," he says. At the church, he complains about the service. "Too long, too boring," he says. At home, he is cruel to his wife, Anne. People often hear his angry words through the window. Anne Prothero is young and beautiful. She has golden hair and sad eyes. She tries to smile in public, but Miss Marple notices her sadness. Poor woman, Miss Marple thinks. She hides many tears behind that smile. The Colonel also has a daughter, Lettuce. She is 17. She likes art and dreams of freedom, but her father laughs at her paintings. "Childish nonsense," he shouts. Sometimes Lettuce runs to the garden and cries. It is not only his family. Colonel Prothero makes enemies everywhere. He argues with the doctor about money. He insults the school teacher in front of children. He threatens young men if they walk too close to his house. One day, at the pub, Mr. Archer whispers, "If Colonel Prothero died, the village would be happier." Another man nods and says quietly, "Yes, maybe one day someone will lose patience." The vicar also feels anger. Last week, Colonel Prothero came to the vicarage. He shouted about church accounts. "You spend too much money on flowers. You are careless." The vicar stayed calm, but inside he was burning. Later, he told his wife Griselda, "That man is the most unpleasant person in Saint." Mary Mead. Griselda laughed. She said, "Darling, everyone says that. He collects enemies like flowers in a basket. Perhaps he will collect too many one day." Miss Marple listens to all these stories. She sits by her window, knitting as always. Her needles move quickly. Click, click, click. But her mind moves faster. She knows that when many people hate one man, the danger grows. Hatred is like fire. It can burn quietly for a long time, but then, suddenly, it explodes. In the afternoon, Colonel Prothero walks through the village. He lifts his stick and greets no one. Children run away from him. Women close their doors. Men turn their heads. Only Miss Marple keeps her eyes on him. she whispers. Every man plants his own end. And Colonel Prothero is planting his very fast. The sun goes down. The sky turns orange. In the distance, the vicarage bells ring. The colonel's shadow stretches across the garden path, dark, long, heavy, and very soon that shadow will fall forever. Chapter 3. The Gunshot. The evening is warm. The sky is red and gold. The vicarage is quiet. Inside, the vicar works at his desk. His wife, Griselda, reads a magazine. The house is calm. But outside, footsteps echo on the path. Colonel Prothero is coming. He carries his walking stick. His face is red with anger. He knocks loudly on the door. Bang, bang, bang. The vicar opens. "Good evening, Colonel," he says politely. "Good evening?" "Nonsense," the colonel shouts. "You waste church money. You protect lazy people. I will not allow it." The vicar asks him to sit at the desk. "Please, let us talk calmly," he says. Griselda watches silently from the doorway. She sees the colonel's fist hit the table. The papers jump. The ink bottle shakes. At last, the colonel agrees to write a statement. He bends over the desk. The vicar leaves the room for a moment. The house is silent. Only the sound of the colonel's pen. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Then, suddenly, another sound. A terrible sound. Bang. A gunshot, loud, sharp, deadly. The birds fly from the trees. The villagers lift their heads. Dogs bark. Children scream. The vicar runs back into the study. Griselda cries out. On the desk lies Colonel Prothero. His head falls to the side. The ink spreads across the paper. But the red on his shirt is not ink. It is blood. The colonel is dead. Shot in the vicar's own study. Griselda covers her mouth. "Oh, Leonard! In our house!" The vicar stands frozen. His hands shake. His voice is weak. This is terrible. This is murder. Soon, the news spreads like fire. Murder. Murder at the vicarage. Villagers run through the lanes. Lights appear in windows. Everyone whispers the same name. Colonel Prothero. Miss Marple hears the shout from her garden. She puts down her knitting. Her blue eyes shine cold in the evening light. She does not scream. She does not run. She only says, very quietly, "So, it has happened." The police arrive quickly. Constable Jones takes control. He locks the study door. Inspector Slack, a big man with sharp eyes, begins his work. He looks at the body. He looks at the gun on the floor. He looks at the vicar and his wife. He says, "Colonel Prothero is dead. Shot here, in this room, and you two were the last to see him alive. The words cut like a knife. The vicar feels his heart stop. Griselda gasps. The inspector writes in his notebook. The villagers crowd outside, waiting for news. A storm is coming to Saint. Mary Mead. A storm of questions. A storm of fear. Because when one man dies, everyone becomes a suspect. Chapter 4. Too many suspects. The murder of Colonel Prothero spreads through the village like fire in dry grass. Murder at the vicarage, people whisper. Men leave the pub. Women run to their windows. Children listen with wide eyes. Inspector Slack begins his questions. He stands tall, his notebook open. His voice is hard. Who had reason to kill Colonel Prothero? The answer is simple. Almost everyone. Suspect 1. The vicar. The colonel died in the vicar's study. That is suspicious. The vicar also argued with him many times. Too much money for flowers, the colonel shouted last week. Could the vicar have lost his patience? The inspector looks at him. Mr. Clement, where were you at the time of the shot? The vicar answers, I was in the next room. I heard the gun. I came back, and he was dead. The inspector writes, no alibi. Suspect 2, Mrs. Griselda Clement, the vicar's wife, young, beautiful, restless. Some villagers say she is bored with her quiet life. Did she hate the colonel for insulting her husband? Or did she have another secret reason? She raises her chin proudly. I did not touch a gun. I heard the shot like everyone else, but her voice shakes just a little. Suspect 3, Anne Prothero, the colonel's wife. Sad eyes, golden hair. She suffered many years under his cruelty. Many say, she had the strongest reason of all. A cruel husband, a life of misery. Freedom could come with one shot. Inspector Slack asks her, where were you, Mrs. Prothero? She replies softly, at home. Alone. Again, no alibi. Suspect 4, Lettice Prothero, the colonel's daughter. 17, rebellious. Her father laughed at her dreams, insulted her art, shouted at her friends. Did her young anger explode into violence? She says, I was walking in the garden, but no one saw her. Suspect 5, Dr. Stone, the archaeologist, a stranger in the village. He studies old stones and maps, but some whisper he also studies people's wallets. The colonel accused him of lying about money. Could the doctor have silenced him forever? Suspect 6, Mr. Redding, the artist, a young man with dark hair and quick hands. He paints, he smiles, and he spends too much time with Anne Prothero. The villagers whisper, a secret love. If the colonel found out, maybe jealousy became deadly. The inspector closes his notebook. He looks at the crowd. He says firmly, "Many people wanted Colonel Prothero dead. But only one person pulled the trigger. We will find that person." The villagers murmur. Fear grows. Who can they trust? Who hides a gun in the night? Miss Marple stands quietly at the back. Her needles click, click, click. She watches every face, every nervous smile, every trembling hand. She whispers to herself, "People lie, but their eyes tell the truth. I will find the killer. I always do." The evening grows dark. The inspector guards the study. The body of Colonel Prothero lies cold. And in the heart of St. Mary Mead, suspicion spreads like poison in the air. Chapter 5. The Knitting Lady. The village is restless. Doors close early. Curtains move in the night. Everyone whispers. Everyone suspects. But one woman is calm. One woman watches quietly. Her name is Miss Marple. She sits in her garden with her knitting. The needles move. Click, click, click. A scarf grows, little by little. But her sharp eyes are not on the scarf. They are on the village. Miss Marple is old. Her hair is white. Her hands are thin. But her mind is fast. Faster than the inspector's notebook. Faster than gossip in the pub. She knows the village. She knows people. And she knows that people always show their secrets if you watch carefully. This morning, Mrs. Price comes to her gate. "Good day, Miss Marple. Did you hear? Anne Prothero cried all night." Poor woman. Miss Marple smiles kindly. "Yes, poor indeed. But tell me, did you see her after the murder?" Mrs. Price shakes her head. "No, no." "Only her maid saw her." Miss Marple nods slowly. One more detail, one more piece of the puzzle. Later, young Lettice Prothero passes by. Her eyes are red. She has been crying. Miss Marple says gently, "My dear, your father was a difficult man. But you loved him, yes?" Lettice looks down. "I don't know. He hated me. He hated everything I loved. Sometimes I wished him gone." Her voice breaks. She runs away. Miss Marple's needles stop for a moment. Click. Silence. "Wishing is not killing," she whispers. "But sometimes the line is thin." In the afternoon, Mr. Redding, the young artist, walks down the lane. He carries a paint box. His eyes look nervous. Miss Marple greets him. "Such a fine day for painting." He smiles quickly. Yes, very fine." But his hands shake as he holds the brush. Miss Marple notices. She notices everything. Then Dr. Stone, the archaeologist, visits the vicarage. He asks questions about the exact time of the gunshot. Too many questions, Miss Marple thinks. Why does he need to know so much? Her needles move faster. Click, click, click. Curiosity is natural, she whispers, but sometimes it is dangerous. That evening, Miss Marple walks slowly to the churchyard. The shadows grow long. The graves lie silent. But she is not afraid. She stands by the wall and thinks. Colonel Prothero was hated by many. His wife, his daughter, the artist, the doctor, even the vicar. So many motives, so many lies. She closes her eyes. She remembers every word, every movement, every whisper from the past 2 days. Her mind works like her knitting, taking small pieces of wool, making a strong thread. Piece by piece, clue by clue, a picture begins to grow. Back at her cottage, she lights a lamp. She sits in her chair, knitting again. Her cat sleeps at her feet. The village is quiet, but her thoughts are not quiet. She whispers into the dark room. Someone in this village is a murderer, and soon I will know who. Chapter 6. Secrets in the Shadows. The murder of Colonel Prothero has opened the village like a broken box. Secrets fall out one by one. Miss Marple watches them all. Secret 1. A love affair. In the evening, Miss Marple walks past the lane near the wood. She sees Anne Prothero. Anne is not alone. Beside her stands Mr. Redding, the young artist. His hand touches hers. Her face is full of sorrow and love. Miss Marple stops. She does not speak. She only watches. 2 people, a married woman and a young man, meet in the shadows. This is dangerous. Very dangerous. She whispers to herself, if the Colonel knew, jealousy is a sharp knife. Secret 2. A stolen paper. The next morning, the vicar finds something strange. A page is missing from his account book. It is torn out, gone. Why? He does not understand. But Miss Marple wonders. Did the missing page hide something about money? Did someone steal it to protect themselves? Secret 3. A false alibi. Inspector Slack questions the suspects again. Anne Prothero repeats, I was at home when the gun fired. But her maid hesitates. She looks down. Her hands twist her apron. Finally, she says, well, I did not see her the whole time. The inspector frowns. Miss Marple's eyes shine. A lie is like a loose thread, she thinks. You only need to pull it, and the whole cloth falls apart. Secret 4. The doctor's curiosity. Dr. Stone, the archaeologist, spends long hours near the vicarage. He says he studies old stones, but Miss Marple notices his eyes always turn to the house, to the study window, to the garden. One evening, she hears him ask, at what exact time was the shot fired? Was it before 6 or after? Too many questions. Why does he need such detail? Miss Marple does not forget. Secret 5. Lettuce and her anger. Young Lettuce paints in the garden. She paints dark trees, red skies, broken faces. Her brush moves wildly. Miss Marple walks by and says gently, "You must feel very lonely, child." Lettuce's eyes fill with tears. She whispers, "My father hated me. He laughed at me every day. Sometimes I wanted to hurt him." She drops the brush and runs away. Miss Marple sighs. Pain leaves marks, she thinks, and sometimes pain becomes violence. Day by day, the shadows in Saint Mary Mead grow thicker. Miss Marple collects small pieces of truth. A word, a look, a movement. Her knitting grows longer. Her picture of the crime grows clearer. One evening, as the sun sets behind the church, Miss Marple sits by her window. She whispers into the golden air, "Everyone hides something. But one person hides a murder. And soon the mask will fall." The church bell rings. The villagers lock their doors. The inspector sharpens his questions. And the killer, somewhere in the quiet village, begins to feel afraid. Chapter 7. A Dangerous Clue. Days pass. The village grows tense. People avoid each other. They close doors. They whisper behind curtains. Inspector Slack works hard. But still, no clear answer. Too many suspects. Too many lies. Miss Marple, however, waits. She knows the truth always leaves a trace. And at last, a small clue appears. The note. One afternoon, the vicar finds a piece of paper in his study. It is half burned in the fireplace. Only a few words remain. "Cannot go on. Meet me at..." The rest is gone. But Miss Marple sees it. Her eyes narrow. "A secret meeting," she whispers. "Perhaps before the murder." The gun. Later, Constable Jones examines the murder weapon. He frowns. "This gun, it is not the vicar's. It belongs to someone else." But who? The record is missing. Miss Marple thinks, a moved gun, a hidden owner. Someone tried to cover their tracks. The word too quick. That evening, Inspector Slack questions Anne Prothero again. He asks, "What time did you last see your husband alive?" She answers quickly, 5:45. Too quickly. Too exact. Miss Marple hears the tone. She smiles softly. People who tell the truth, she thinks, do not answer so fast. The clues are small. A note, a gun, a word. But in Miss Marple's hands, they are powerful. Her knitting lies forgotten in her lap. Her eyes are bright with thought. That night, she walks to her window. The moon is full. The village lies silent. But her heart is not silent. She feels danger. She knows the murderer begins to feel trapped. When animals are trapped, they fight. When people are trapped, they kill again. She whispers into the cold night air. This clue is dangerous. It points too close to the truth. If I am not careful, the murderer will notice me. Her cat moves nervously. A shadow passes outside the cottage. Miss Marple does not move. She only waits. She only listens. And somewhere in the darkness, the murderer watches too. Chapter 8. The Truth in the Garden. The summer evening is calm. The air is soft. The church bell rings once, twice, 3 times. But in the garden of the vicarage, people gather with heavy hearts. Inspector Slack is there. The vicar and his wife stand close together. Anne Prothero looks pale. Lettuce twists her hands. Mr. Redding stares at the ground. Dr. Stone coughs nervously. And in the middle sits Miss Marple. Her knitting rests in her lap. Her eyes shine like blue steel. She speaks slowly. Her voice is soft, but every word cuts the air. Colonel Prothero was not loved, she begins. Many of you hated him. The vicar argued with him. His wife suffered under him. His daughter feared him. The young artist had reason to fear his anger. The doctor worried about his money. So many motives. Too many. She looks around. No one dares to breathe. But murder is not about many. Murder is about one. She holds up the burned note. This note speaks of a meeting. A secret meeting before the murder. She points to the gun. This weapon was moved. It did not belong to the vicar. It was placed to confuse us. Then she turns her eyes on Anne Prothero. You gave your answer too quickly. You were ready. You had prepared your words. Anne gasps. Her hands tremble. I don't know what you mean. Miss Marple does not stop. Her needles click once in her fingers, sharp like a judge's hammer. You had a lover. You had Mr. Redding. The colonel discovered the truth. You feared his anger, so you planned his death. The garden is silent. Only the wind moves the leaves. Anne shakes her head. No, I could never. But Miss Marple's voice is firm. You could. And you did not act alone. Mr. Redding helped you. Together you arranged it. Together you lied. But lies always break in the end. The inspector steps forward. His face is pale. He says, Mrs. Prothero, Mr. Redding, is this true? Anne covers her face with her hands. A long silence. Then a cry escapes her lips. Yes, yes, it is true. We loved each other, and we hated him. We thought it was the only way. Mr. Redding shouts, I did it for her, for Anne. He was cruel. He was evil. But Inspector Slack does not move. He takes out his handcuffs. Love is not an excuse for murder, he says. Miss Marple leans back in her chair. Her knitting rests again. Her eyes are calm. She whispers, "In every village, there are secrets. In every heart, there is darkness. But truth always finds a way to the light." The villagers stand silent. The crime is solved. The garden, once peaceful, has seen its darkest hour. And Miss Marple, the quiet old lady with knitting in her hands, has shown once more that nothing escapes her sharp eyes. Chapter 9. Lesson from the Murder. The village of St. Mary Mead is quiet again. The sun shines on the gardens. Children laugh in the lanes. The postman rings his bicycle bell. Life returns to normal, almost. But people do not forget. They remember the sound of the gunshot. They remember the fear. They remember that behind friendly smiles there can be shadows. At the vicarage, Mr. Clement writes in his study once more. Griselda arranges flowers on the table. Her hands are steady now. She says, "Leonard, it feels safe again." The vicar nods, but his eyes are serious. Yes, but we have learned a lesson. Evil can walk even in the most peaceful garden. In the Prothero house, the windows are closed. Anne is gone. Mr. Redding is gone. Their names are whispered only in sadness. Lettice paints again, but her pictures are dark. The village pities her. And in her little cottage, Miss Marple sits with her knitting. Her needles move, click, click, click. Her cat sleeps by the fire. She looks calm, like an old lady with nothing to do. But her eyes are still sharp. She sees the world clearly. She knows every village, every home, every person hides a story. Now, let us pause. Let us think about what we learned. New words from this story. Vicar equals a village priest. Vicarage equals the house of the vicar. Colonel equals a high officer in the army. Suspect equals a person who may be guilty. Alibi equals proof of where you were during a crime. Clue equals a small piece of evidence. Murderer equals the person who kills. Handcuffs equals metal rings to lock a prisoner's hands. Repeat them after me. Say them slowly. Vicar, vicarage, colonel, suspect, alibi, clue, murderer, handcuffs. Good. So, what is the lesson? The lesson is simple. We must not judge too quickly. We must listen. We must watch. We must think. Miss Marple teaches us that truth can be hidden, but never forever. Even the smallest clue, like a burned note or a quick word, can reveal a crime. And she teaches us something more. She teaches us that language, like clues, is powerful. The more words you know, the clearer the world becomes. The church bell rings once more. Ding. Dong. Ding. Dong. St. Mary Mead is peaceful again, but Miss Marple is ready. If trouble comes, she will see it. She always sees it. And now, dear listener, your English is stronger. You have learned new words. You have followed a story. You have lived the mystery. This was the murder at the Vicarage, and the lesson from Miss Marple.